Hello everyone, welcome back to another video here on Very Cold Lasagna. And if you don't follow me on Twitter or Instagram, which by the way you should, I've expressed how much fun and how much I've been enjoying this Liv Morgan, Dominik Mysterio, and Judgement Day storyline that's been going on for the last 2 months now. It's probably the best thing, or actually take that back, it's like almost the best thing that's been going on Raw, other than the CM Punk and Drew McIntyre feud that's been going on since January. So there's been so much twists and turns and so much thinking that has you wondering, like, what are they gonna do next, or like what's actually gonna happen in this one. It's like this is like a very unpredictable story that's unfolding right in front of us. So this all started when you had Liv winning the Women's World Championship that, you know, her arch rival Rhea Ripley never actually lost. But anyway, Liv wins the Women's World title from Becky Lynch at King and Queen of the Ring with some help, in quotation, from Dominik. And then 2 nights later, she gets that same kind of help from Dominik in a steel cage match. And then after the match, of course, you had that kiss around the world that was seen by the millions and millions of people, where, you know, you had Liv look at him and Dom looked at her. Liv looked at him and then she kissed him. Yeah, that kiss that garnered so many people, whether you're a casual or a hardcore wrestling fan, it had them speaking in that ending on a Memorial Day, mind you. It had people talking, although the US feed cut out though. So yeah, and then you go on this crazy turn of the Liv Morgan Revenge Tour, where Liv was trying to get closer to Dom and eventually get him to quote unquote fold, as the kids like to say nowadays. So whether it involved Liv, you know, trying to, you know, touch him, and Liv, you know, straddling on Dom. By the way, this happened like 2 times after that first incident. And then you had Liv taking Dominik's vest and then forcing him to slowly zip it down. And then Damien eventually gets involved too, finding out about all this. And then you have the hotel key card with Dom, Liv, and Finn. Like, who took the hotel key card in this as well. And then also you have all the gifts that Liv gives them. It was the chicken nuggets, although no sauce. That's a little bit of a red flag there. And then the TV, the PS5, and then a new actual home base for them. No more were they in some random ass area backstage. They were in an actual like room. They were in actual space for them to chill and relax. See how nice of them Liv was to them. But anyway, she also brought them back the World Tag Team Championships, although from the Awesome Truth, which was kind of a bummer. And you also have JD McDonald's as a World Tag Team Champion, unfortunately. And then you have a couple weeks later, Dominik finally gets the one thing that he always wanted in life, beating his deadbeat dad, Rey Mysterio. And Liv seems like he's finally about to get him to crack. She's finally about to get him to fold. And then, of course, you had Rhea Ripley come in and re-inject herself back into Liv's life, as well as Dominik's too. And then she wants a rematch at SummerSlam for the title she never lost. And then here you are with a match at SummerSlam for the Women's World Championship, which brings me to my point of this video. And that point being is that Triple H, you better not fuck this up. Like, you better not fuck up how you're going to produce this match. You better not fuck up how you're going to get to the beginning, the middle, and especially the end. Especially not the end of this match, because I feel like the ending is going to be the key to how this story progresses forward. Because whatever happens in the ending is going to be crucial to not just how how especially Liv is gonna be seen on screen to not just the hardcore fan but the casual fan after SummerSlam, and of course Rhea Ripley too, because she's objectively a ascending star in many people's eyes, if she's not one already. But in essence, this story is like, again, one of the hottest stories going on in WWE aside from Drew and CM Punk. So you have to stick the landing with whatever's going to happen at SummerSlam. Then there's so many things that can happen. There are so many like events that could unfold in this match. And then it's crazy to believe that you have so many people on Instagram and Twitter, pretty much all social media, that are coming up with so many crazy theories, so many crazy threads that are much better than what Noseman has produced. I know that's very crazy to say. Like so many random people making threads, so many people making like Instagram posts about, you know, what could, like, who's behind Rhea and Damian potentially getting kicked out, or like who's behind this master plan to take over the Judgment Day. There's so like it's so much. It feels like a lot better than what Noseman could possibly produce. Like seriously, like just find some threads on Twitter, find some posts on Instagram, and you'll see like why so and so, or like whether it's Dom or Finn, could be the one to make that move at SummerSlam. Or maybe even later down the line. But I do believe SummerSlam should be the place to do it. That being said, you know, my personal opinion, when you look at what could go down at SummerSlam, there are two possible things that could happen. Maybe even three that could happen. The first thing that could happen, which would pretty much ruin this whole story, and pretty much like essentially bury the entire point of Liv Morgan and her revenge tour, is that Rhea Ripley wins it straight up. She wins it, and that'll be the end of it. Like, she wins the title back, she gets Dominik back, and then that'll be the end of the Liv Morgan revenge tour. I mean, it won't be surprising because, you know, Rhea Ripley is a major star, if not the top star in the women's division, and it's someone that Triple H heavily relies on and pushes. So I wouldn't be surprised, you know, regardless of how many viewers that Liv Morgan has pulled in the last 2 months, that they would just give her a boot. They would just put her out like that. The second thing, though, the second possibility is a couple of turns. The first of two possible turns, possible scenarios. The first one would be the reveal of who the mastermind is behind this plan, because there's been some seeds planted with there have been like some like hints that have been going on with, you know, the master plan of whether it's Liv Morgan or maybe Finn Balor. You know, I mean, not the biggest Finn Balor fan in the world, but you know, you gotta wonder, you know, considering how much animosity, like how much teases that this guy has had with the likes of Rhea and especially Damian Priest, not just in this last span of the 2 months, but you look back to last year when, you know, it was pretty much Judgment Day everywhere on Raw, and you know, them getting to fights over Finn having his Money in the Bank and SummerSlam matches for the World Heavyweight title costed because of Damian Priest trying to cash in. And then they would get fights into it. They also get fights when they were World Tag Team Champions. Just think about that. So Finn is not letting that lie down. So maybe he is trying to think of this master plan of trying to overthrow Damian Priest, especially now that he has the World Heavyweight Championship. It could be time for him to execute that, and then to help Liv win keep the Women's World Championship, and they become some partnership of sorts in the Judgment Day and take both of them out. Now, that could happen. And then the final thing that could happen is, well, Finn does the betrayal on Damian, but also with this match, the the other obvious thing, and that's Dominik. How does he involve himself in all of this? Obviously, he's been like the wild card. He's been the what did Michael Cole say on Raw this past Monday? The pawn. He's been pretty much the X factor ever since, Liv Morgan kissed him, and then Rhea Ripley and then Dominik this past Monday, he supposedly told off Liv and in a heated manner, and then Rhea Ripley took him back despite, after last week, she was pretty pissed at him. So that being said, where does Dominik's loyalties lie? The biggest test will come this Saturday at SummerSlam, and then of course we still have one more Monday Night Raw to go, and pretty much how both Dominik and Liv, and of course Rhea, what are they gonna do on this Raw to set up what could be a very interesting SummerSlam? And then going back to the point of if Dominik turns on Rhea, oh boy, hell is gonna raise on social media, and then pretty much everywhere because. If you look back at it, Dominik and Rhea have been going on for the last 2 years. Rhea, whether you like how that was written or not, she pretty much dominated Dominik into joining the Judgment Day, and that's pretty much how it's been since up to now. But ever since Liv came into Dominik's life, he's become a little bit of a changed man. So, I don't know, man. It could be interesting how it goes. And I just hope. And of course, let's talk about the match itself for a little bit because, we've seen Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan wrestle a couple of times now in one-on-one matches. They had good matches. They've had some pretty good matches in the last, the span between 2022 and 2023. Some pretty very solid to good matches, but this is a bigger stage, and this is especially the biggest test of Liv Morgan's career, which makes me nervous even further. So, it's for as much as Triple H has to stick the landing on this, Liv Morgan has to as well. I mean, we already know Rhea Ripley's already a proven commodity on the biggest stage. She's competed in 2 WrestleMania high-profile matches, but Liv Morgan. This is a major test for her because remember the last time she was in a kind of key match on a Big 4 pay-per-view, which was SummerSlam, and boy, was she booked terribly. And again, not a lot of that was to fault of her own, but in this stage, at this point of her career, where she's been talking the talk, walking the walk so far when it comes to her ring work, her promos, her character. Will she be able to back that up at SummerSlam on the second biggest stage that WWE has to offer? I surely hope so. As big of an advocate I've been for Liv, I'm nervous. I'm really nervous for what's going to go down in Cleveland this coming Saturday. But either way, this has to stick. They got to stick the landing on Saturday at SummerSlam with this whole Rhea, Dom, Liv, Judgment Day story. Like, whatever ending that they have for us, they got to make sure that it'll work and there'll be a nice twist to it. Again, my personal pick to have a twist in is, Dom turning on Rhea because it would advance the story much more. But either way, whatever happens, it'll have people talking, whether they're be happy with it or disappointed with it. I'll certainly have some feelings with it. But either way, there's going to be some feelings felt come Saturday in Cleveland with this red-hot feud where both Rhea and Liv haven't even touched each other physically. But that'll change on Saturday. But let me know your thoughts on this feud between Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley. So much to go down on the last Raw that's going to come up. And I just hope that Triple H really stick the landing, picks the right ending, whichever that may be. But we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens in Cleveland. And again, the execution, it has to be there. It really has to be there. But let me know your thoughts on Liv Morgan taking on Rhea Ripley at SummerSlam, and what do you think has to go right for this for this story to keep people's interest going into after SummerSlam, because it's gonna be like I said, it's gonna be important. All right, enough rambling. Until the next video, keep that lasagna very cold in the fridge with your takes on the world of sports. This is DylanLasagna signing out, and as always, peace out.